Hello, well, that's us going live. So anyway, as promised, probably sooner than expected. Fortunately, I've managed to get Mark back again. We're not even going to waste. I don't think we're even going to waste 20 seconds on Joseph Evans. Are we? No. But we're here to do.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, hello. We're here to do the little fun quiz that we did with the dude last week. So these are completely different questions, by the way. I'm not that daft that I would use the same questions again. So I've mixed it up a little bit. We've got a little bit of quotes, who said what, and a little bit of the of evidence. And the various statements and stuff like that. So anyway, a bit of fun, just a bit of fun. 20 questions, typical. As with Mastermind, our next contestant is Mr. Mark Hoddinott, and your chosen subject is what?
MAM.
MAM. Yes, that is your chosen subject. But we'll do the general.
I am feeling a little nervous about this, but I'll do my best.
I bet you are. Particularly as the dude managed to get 20 out of 20.
I know. He's a wizard, though. I'm just a tagger along. So.
Well, you know what he is? He's a cold ass honky. But actually, just before we get into that, we should mention that as you suspected yesterday, and you said this straight away, you said it was all just a publicity stunt. This Joseph Evans, have you had a chance to read through the 7 pages of his letter to Zelna, along with, and this was very, very thoughtful of him, he also sent a deposit envelope for her to send back the $2,000 deposit.
They're obviously teaching accounting in prison these days and basic business procedures. So yeah. I was very impressed that he was so organised.
Yeah, but isn't it interesting that we know from Mammothon that you cannot just deposit $2,000 into somebody's account?
Yeah, no.
He didn't know that, and he seems to think that he's going to get $350,000 eventually put into his account. Well, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. I'm sorry, Joseph. It ain't going to happen.
No, but you know what? Good on him for trying. Right?
Oh. Well, as you pointed out, what was Ken Crack's reaction to this confession?
Yeah, I found that interesting. In fact, in fairness, someone alerted me to this to make me think about it. Not so much that it immediately came to mind, but when Ken Kratz tweeted something that I've only seen this myself. I haven't got any comment to make until I've had a chance to consider it. Well, it's interesting you should say that, because really, if he was so certain that Stephen and Brendan were guilty and that he had got the right man, why did he need any time to think about it? He should have come straight out and said this is just a load of rubbish.
Exactly.
Because the world's best prosecutor had already got his man. So
well, he not only proved Stephen Avery guilty beyond reasonable doubt, he proved him guilty beyond all doubt.
Yes.
And of course, one of the wonderful things he said in summing up was, and I thought this, of all the crass things that Kratz says, when he talks about the fact that reasonable doubt is for innocent people, you think, what? Shouldn't the judge intervene and say, look, I'm sorry, Ken, but you can't really say that. This is a court of law. It's up for these people here to decide whether he's innocent or not. It's not for you to decide beforehand.
Correct. Reasonable doubt is for everybody.
Exactly. Right? Until
so I'd be interested to know a little bit. I think I might have asked this question of somebody in the past, and maybe I've forgotten the answer, but I always find the opening and closing arguments that are put in a court of law that they get away with blue murder. I don't know I know they try to give them some latitude not to be interrupted, and I know the other side can't interrupt them. But if there are prosecutors, or defence people for that matter, making statements that are patently untrue, such as the one you just made, or like Tom Fallon said in Brendan's trial, innocent people don't confess.
Yeah.
I mean, why doesn't a judge step in and say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to allow you to say that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what the rules are in that respect, but I just find it, powerfully misleading to let such statements go by without at least some sort of correction to them.
Yeah. And also, did you notice that Ken Kratz's new book, with the 2 extra chapters that he told me about over a month ago and tried to persuade me to sell it? He got Leah Kratz to sort of do a tweet about the book coming out, but also, strange enough, to suggest that that Brendan should be let out pretty soon. Now, it's a bit like Mike Holbach when he says that you should put that Brendan should have taken the plea bargain and he would have been out. He would have got the 20 years. Well, if you genuinely believe that Brendan Dassey took part in the rape and murder of your sister, are you wanting him to be out in 20 years?
No, of course not.
It's absolutely ridiculous. But to me, this all strikes as being a case of they're trying to offer some sort of some sort of peace offering, some sort of gift to the truther side to say, well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll strike a deal. We'll let Brendan Dassey go, but we'll keep Stephen Avery. How about that? Well, it ain't going to happen, is it? I don't understand the mentality of these people. Catherine Zellner has got them on toast.
On what possible basis, unless you're the governor, on what possible basis would the Attorney General, and let alone the prosecutor, have a right to release someone early?
Yeah.
What would be the basis for that?
Yeah.
Oh, I feel sorry for him?
Yeah.
Please. Yeah. If you felt sorry for him, you would never have him there in the first place. And it's up to the governor to give a pardon if that's what he's leaning towards, not the prosecutor or the Attorney General.
Yeah. Anyway, come on. Has everybody got their pen and paper ready? And we'll have a bit of fun. And the questions aren't
at my expense.
No, not at all. The questions aren't going to be too difficult because on the really difficult ones, I'm going to give you one of them is a multi-choice, and I'm going to give you a little bit of leeway of a couple of years either side on dates. Okay.
Okay.
But question number one, you've been to Wisconsin so many times. We've stood next to the courthouse, and I've been parked in that car park next to the courthouse and driven around the block, so we know exactly where. What is the address of Manitowoc Sheriff's Department? What is the exact address of Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department?
Oh my God, I'm glad that can't wait for the hard questions. Well, let me think for a second. I'm a pretty logical guy. I know the main street of Manitowoc runs north-south, and it's called 8th Street, I think.
Yeah.
And they count them. So there's 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, heading west, I think. Yep. Heading west. And I know the courthouse, which has the Sheriff's Department and the jail immediately behind it, sits in between 8th and 9th Street. So it's got to be one of those, 8th or 9th.
Yeah. And
it's towards this. I think the entrance was on the western side, so I'm going to say it's 9th Street, and they have this thing over there where they often use the compass point to also describe a street. So I'm going to say maybe South 9th Street. Yeah. As for the number, I'm expected a number as well.
No, South 9th Street will do fine. South 9th Street.
Is that close enough?
Where is just out of interest? Where was that Irish bar that we went to?
That was also actually running between 8th and 9th Street.
Yeah.
But very close to 8th Street. Yeah.
Because that was a good place. I liked it there.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah.
They even had a nice piano, and the people there were very, very friendly as well, and the food was absolutely lovely. Anyway,
okay, I found all the shopkeepers I've interacted in Manitowoc very friendly and nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so question number 2, a bit easier. Who says this? You could end up being charged with murder.
That sounds like something from early on in MAM1, and I'm going to guess and say one of the is it Stephen Glynn, I think?
Well done.
Is it him?
Well done.
Yep.
Well done.
Yep.
Excellent. So that's you are 100% so far, same as the dude. Here we go. I think this is actually quite an easy one. Number 3. Who says this? Quote, this was so clear and the circumstance so troubling.
You know, hearing you say that, I can picture the guy who says this, because that is to do with Stephen being, released from the first wrongful conviction and it being back in the hands of Wisconsin politicians. And I'm pretty sure that's the guy, Mark Gundrum, talking about the wrongful conviction or what went on at that time in 1985.
Yep. And just for a little bonus point, can anybody tell me what is it that Mark Gundrum now does?
Oh, I think I know.
Yeah, go for it.
He's either on the Court of Appeals or maybe one step higher, the Supreme Court.
No, he is
one of those.
He is a judge in the Court of Appeals. And which district?
Oh, I have no idea.
District 2. Oh. District 2, which is the one that covers Manitowoc.
Oh,
so okay. Mark Gundrum is one of the 4 judges on the Court of Appeals. So far, we've had Paul Riley look at his case. We've got Lisa Neubauer still there, and she was the one that was went for election to the Supreme Court, where Brian Hagedorn beat her to it. So we've got Hagedorn, Riley, Gundrum, Neubauer, but of course we've got now Hagedorn probably at the Supreme Court, so therefore there'll be somebody that replaces Brian Hagedorn. And as I say, Paul Riley is the one that remanded the case back to Judge Flowers twice now, and you can tell by the tone of his voice he's not at all happy with Judge Flowers.
I'm hopeful that they'll have a clear and independent mind to this matter and take the emotion away from it and deal with it from a lawful point of view. That's all I want them to do.
Absolutely. Okay. So question number 4. Who says it's not a subtle lawsuit? This is a gross constitutional violation.
Oh, you're keeping these questions in a little microcosm of time that helps me answer them because they're all around the same era of the thing. Yeah. So that's Walt Kelly. So,
well, I mean, let's put it this way: if Tom Kasurek hadn't said to Steve, "I'm going to get you for this, whether you did it or you didn't," none of this would have happened. And you know what's particularly galling is the fact that because Tom Kasurek decided, "I'm going to get you for it, whether you did it or you didn't," 3 people have suffered. 1 has lost her life, and the other 2 are being buried alive in a wrongful conviction. Just because
the knock-on effects to all the relevant families and the community is huge.
Just because somebody who is supposed to be the sheriff of Manitowoc and look after everybody, just because he decides, I don't like you, I'm going to get you for this, whether you did it or you didn't. And I know perfectly well you didn't do it, but to hell with that.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, rant over for the day. So it leads on to my next question. Okay. Question number 5. Over what period of years was Thomas Kasurek the sheriff of Manitowoc County? Now, I want a starting year and a finishing year, and you're allowed a 2-year leeway.
Oh, okay. I have a feeling, I have a general idea when it is. The start and finish dates might be tricky. I might start at the end date because I think Ken Peterson succeeded him.
Yep.
And I have a feeling
Peterson was in office at the time Stephen got out the second time, or the first time he got out. So I'm reckoning, and not long, I don't think. So I'm going to say maybe he finished around, Kasurik finished around 2001, maybe 2002.
2001,
that
spot
will
on.
Be that.
Spot on.
Okay, and then starting, it's, I don't know, late 70s. I'm pretty sure it's late 70s, 79, maybe 78, somewhere there. That'll be my guess.
There you go. Well done. Well done.
Yeah. Thank you. Is that right?
Yes, 22 years. I don't even know. I've often shared that picture of the sheriffs of Manitowoc County going way back to 1856 or whatever it was.
Oh God!
There's
what
like
a parade that'd be.
I know there's like an honours board, and Mr. Herman's on it as well as well as you say, Kev. I keep saying Kevin Peterson.
He's a cricketer.
Yes,
he was a bit of a criminal himself.
Oh dear. Well, actually,
he just still runs from us.
Yeah. Do you know what? Yes. Do you know what he's doing now? He's back in South Africa, and he set up this sort of trying to raise the awareness of the poaching of rhinos in South Africa. Trying to do something about that. So fair play to Kevin.
Good. Yeah, good on him.
Even though he did have that dodgy hairdo in, was it 05? You remember?
Yeah, a little blonde piece on the side or something.
He looked like a skunk, didn't he?
He did. Yeah.
Okay, next question. Same question. When was Dennis Vogel district attorney? When did he start and finish as district attorney for Manitowoc?
Well, he was obviously district attorney when Stephen's first trial was 85.
Yes.
So it's got to wrap around that date. I have a feeling that, let me just think this through a bit. I have a feeling that he left office. I don't know whether he resigned or it was a voting thing or whatever, not long after Stephen's trial. So I'm going to say again the end date was maybe 87. Close. 86. So yeah, you get that. You've got 2 years margin. Okay. What about then start date? I'm not sure. It's a voted in position. I think the terms are 4 years, but I may be wrong there. I'm not sure. So again, I think he's probably around the same time when Kasurik started. So I'm going to just say, I don't know. So if I count back 8 years, so 79 maybe or something like that.
Close,
I don't know.
close.
That's a pretty wild guess, but I'm just going to say 78, 79.
Well, yeah. You're within the 2 years. It was 1977 to 1986. Now, here next is the really difficult question. Okay, this is going to really tax your brains.
Oh God!
This is another quote.
Yeah.
I do not speak or talk, converse in this kind of verbiage.
Oh God! Like that's just like that image is going to be etched on my mind forever. That has got to be Judy DeVerbiage. Or sometimes that is Judy Dvorak or whatever, however you pronounce her name.
Yeah.
So she was a deputy sheriff. She was the one who kind of put the idea of Stephen Avery in Penny Bernstein's mind when she was in hospital, right?
Yes, because she was a close friend of Sandra Morris, and they used to frequent bars together. And it's even been suggested that they because of Sandra Morris, because of Bill being a sheriff, and because of Judy being a detective, I believe at that time, in the sheriff's department, that it's highly likely that in the course of going out for a few beers and a few drinks, they would have mentioned Gregory Allen.
I'll say even the staff knew that it was Gregory Allen, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It's just crazy, that whole story.
Yeah.
It's funny, with Judy Dvorak, just picturing her in that, civil suit deposition process, looking at the look on her face.
Yes.
I mean, it's extremely entertaining when you see some really squeezed and worried about what's going on.
Yeah. What always makes me laugh when I watch all of those is the fact that sometimes they get asked a question and I just don't know. I can't remember. You know, it's suddenly they have complete amnesia on so many really important. But you know, when you got people like Kempin saying, "Oh, I heard that he was getting deposed," but I wouldn't know when that was. I wouldn't know when he was being deposed.
Really? Come on.
Like, it's that what's the word I'm looking for? It's that sort of obtuseness, isn't it, that you get from them. It was a bit like that Dawn Plitchka when they asked her a question on the stand and she was just being so obtuse, and in the end you could see that sheepish look that she gave to Ken Kratz. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Let's crack on. Okay, so.
Yeah. How am I going so far, by the way?
Well, you dude-like. Yeah.
I'm in good company there.
Yeah, dudeness like, yeah. So here we go. Next question. Question number 8, another quote. I don't take what's in the papers as gospel truth.
I had a vision of a very rotund gentleman leaning back in a chair at a table. Mr. Eugene the Pencil Couchet. I think that was him who was questioning all that. Is that right?
Yeah, Jean Couchet, that's right. Yeah, Eugene Couchet. I mean, the name Eugene itself is worrying some, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, you've got that name in your name, you're in trouble, right?
Well, it's one. I think it's the Pink Floyd album Relics. There's a track on there. It's quite a long one called "Careful with That Axe, Eugene." And every time I hear the name Eugene, I keep thinking of Pink Floyd and Relics. Careful with that axe, Eugene. Oh dear. It's a very old sort of name, isn't it, Eugene? It's like, is it not Russian from about the 1800s?
I've got a good friend of mine. Yeah. He's Australian, but his family's from Italy, and his name is Eugene. Right. I think it's a form of the word Eugenie. Yes. Which. But where that arises from, originally, I don't know. But I know a couple of people named Eugene, and there's a city on the west coast of America in Oregon called Eugene as well. Right. I think just below Portland. If I've got my geography right, I'll have to double check that with Eric Oza. He's my go-to geography reference source.
Oh dear! What the dude doesn't know about geography, eh?
It's on the same side of North America, it seems, so he's got a reasonable chance of knowing where it is.
Do you know what? We really should cut the guy a bit of slack, because I mean, bless him. America is such a huge place, isn't it? It's like to people that live on the Pacific coast. The other side of the America is what, 4,000 miles away. It's a huge distance. And it's to them, it would be like the other side of the world, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Anyway,
it would be.
Yeah, we're not making any more excuses for him. Okay.
No.
Now here's a tricky one.
Mm-hmm.
Eugene Couchet, what were his years in office?
Oh, God. Now, I think, funny how I go to the end date to kind of guide me here, because I know that he, at the time of Stephen's release,
yes,
either he was there then or had left that year, or sometime just in that year he left office, or whatever happened to him. So I'm going to say the end date is 2003.
Yep.
Now the start date. Well, I think he's sort of a Zurich vintage type guy, is my guess. So I'm just going to say the late 70s. What did I say for that? 77, 78, 79, somewhere there. That'd be my guess.
Okay, what are you going to go for then? Go for one then.
For one of them? Well, I'll pick the one in the middle. I'll go 1978.
Close enough. 79 to 2003. Yes, sorry. Yes, the US is approximately 1,500 miles across from Atlantic to Pacific. Of course, I'm at some point determined that I'm going to do the Route 66 from LA to Chicago. So
1,500? I don't think so. It'd be more than that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but it depends if it's as the crow flies rather than Route 66 is going to involve going from LA to a bar to another bar to another bar and eventually arrive in Chicago. It sort of does a bit of a loop.
I would have thought it was more like 3,000 miles or more across the widest point from east to west.
It's
1,500 seems too short to me, but I could be wrong.
It's certainly a long distance anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
And although you were saying that you tend to go in kilometers.
Yeah, we used to do the miles a long time ago, up to the early 70s, and we switched to fully to metric, so we use kilometers now.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I'm old enough to know both. So.
Yes. Yeah. It always annoys the cricket commentator Michael Holding. You remember Mike Holding?
Yeah.
Whispering
yes,
Death,
I do. From the West Indies.
Yes. And he often, they have these speed guns for the bowlers, don't they? To say how fast they bowl. And it's done in kilometers an hour. And he's saying, what on earth is going on? A cricket pitch is 22 yards long. Why are we converting it to kilometers? Why not just stick with the imperial system? It's miles per hour, I must admit, I prefer miles an hour. I do. But anyway, I'm old school.
It's funny how some things still stick no matter what your change in measurements are. Like, even though we're metric in Australia and we measure things, weight things by kilograms and grams.
Yeah. When
a baby is born, doesn't matter when, and that someone says, "Oh, what did the baby weigh?" Everyone always answers in pounds.
Yes.
In ounces.
That's right.
I often think to myself, how do the young people even know what that means? It's got its own little world of application.
Absolutely.
Often the same with height. You ask a young, how tall are you, Bill? And he'll go, 6'1".
Yeah.
we use centimeters, right? So
yeah.
I think it's just one of those things anyway.
I wouldn't have a clue what I am height-wise in centimeters, but I know perfectly well what I am in feet and inches. But anyway.
Which is what? Tell me, I'll give you a metric conversion for you.
Well, I'm 5'9".
Okay, so you would be about 165 centimeters.
Oh, sorry. Did you mean upwards or across?
Well, hang on. Which depends on which plane you're measuring across, I suppose. I don't want to get too personal, but
okay. Moving swiftly on. Yeah, so far 9 out of 9. So next question. This is a multi-choice. Okay. What is the exhibit number of the Colburn 1995 telephone call report? You've got a choice of numbers. It's mentioned a few times. You've got a choice of 124, 128, 134, or 138.
Can you tell me the numbers again?
Yeah, you've got a choice of, for the Colburn report, exhibit number 124, 128, 134, or 138.
Oh.
It is mentioned a few times.
You know what? I try to have this logic thing when people create multiple choice questions, that you can sometimes, dig through the logic and say, well, you wouldn't put that in there.
Yeah. So
that I can eliminate that one. But when you're just dealing with numbers, I have no idea. But can I just have a guess? I'm going to say it's either C or D, the 130 ones, 34 or 38, one of those two. Let me see, 12. I'll just go the last one, my wild guess, 138. How
Well,
about that?
you see, the thing is that what you've done there is there must be something in the back of the mind that's jogging the memory, that you remember them talking about. What does Exhibit 138 refer to when they're asking Roher, and he says, oh, well, it's, or the other guy, when he says, have you seen this before? I think Couchet is the one that's been particularly obtuse about it, saying, oh, I don't know what it was about, but obviously Roher knew what it was about. But yes, it's Exhibit number 138. Sorry, no.
That was to all those listening. It was pure guess. Yeah, I was lucky.
Yeah. In actual fact, we're going to get onto another document in a minute, which was to do with Roher. So no.
By the way, for any of the people who may not know or listening, Roher is a present judge in Manitowoc County Court.
Yeah.
So he holds. I think he's one of 2 or 3 judges that sits there. To this day.
Yeah. No, sorry. Exhibit 138. That is the report that Andy Coleman made, and then he filled it out, gave it to Jim Link. Jim Link signs it, and it's put to Sheriff Peterson, and he's saying, "I've never seen that before in my life. Never seen it before." Well, it was in the safe. How come you never saw it before, you idiot? Anyway, so here's an interesting question. This is probably very, very easy. This is a very, very easy one. What date was Stephen Avery released in 2003? So what was the actual date? What was the day and date?
I remember this. I remember this date because it's relevant to another important day and month, and that was September 11.
Correct.
Exactly 2 years after the Twin Towers matter. So
well done.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, we're back to you've done really well. 13 out of 13. Where are we up to? What? Sorry. Yes. 11 out of 11 you've done so far. This is question 12. Mm-hmm. We're getting back to Manitowoc. We've had the address of the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department. What is the address of the Manitowoc County District Attorney's Office?
Well, you know how I was saying before that the main street in Manitowoc is 8th Street?
Yep.
And the courthouse is at the southern end of that. In fact, the entrance to the town is at the southern end. It comes off Washington and turns into 8th.
Yep.
I'm assuming, although to be honest, I don't really know. Actually, no, maybe I do know. The courthouse, that quite beautiful building,
yep,
right, the very top level of the courthouse, the very top level is administrative offices.
Yep.
So I'm thinking the district attorney is housed in there, and I know that the main entrance to the courthouse, there are a number of entrances, but the main sort of picturesque entrance is in 8th Street. So I'm going to say it's in South 8th Street, in other words, the address of the courthouse. But based on that earlier question about the number, it must be, and if the numbers are consistent, it must be 1,000 and something. I don't know what the number would be, but I'll say South 8th Street would be the most certain bit I can have about that.
Correct. The reason I know the Sheriff's Department address so well is because of the number of times I didn't just phone Sheriff Herman, I actually wrote to him, send him postcards and all sorts of stuff, Even sent him a tie, which I hope he appreciated. But so his address is 1025 South 9th Street, and the district attorney, as you say, 110 South 8th Street. Okay, moving quickly on. Question number 13. Exhibit 124 is was the memo about the Jean Couchet saying that he had a conversation about about the phone call. But Exhibit 124 is a memo from whom to whom?
Well, I'm not really sure, but I'm trying to figure out why you would ask this question, because this, I think, centers around, Mark Raw was trying to play the Mr. Innocent in all this, and so I'm thinking it's something to do.
You got that one right.
It's something.
Yep. Sorry.
I think it's a memo.
Yep.
if it's a memo and it's to do with that conversation, there were two guys that were relevant here. I don't know the guy's first name, a guy called Jones, I think, and he wrote a memo to Mark Raw to which it gave evidence to the fact that Mark Raw had already known about that phone call, which he was trying to pretend he didn't.
Exactly. It's very, very important in Exhibit 124 because, if you actually read it, they talk on about the actual memo refers to Jean Couchet having a something to do with it's as you say, it's Douglas Jones, Douglas with two S's at the end of the name, which is most unusual, but Douglas Jones to Mark Roher, and he says that in a conversation he had with Jean Couchet, they were discussing things, including the fact that Jean Couchet had been put on some sort of diet and exercise regime. But then at the end of the conversation, he says that he points out to Douglas Jones that it was that Andy Colburn had taken a phone call and knew about this phone call, that he knew about the phone call. Obviously, everybody in the sheriff's department knew about this phone call, but nobody wants to admit. But yes, it was absolutely correct. It was Douglas Jones to Mark Roher. So Mark Roher definitely knew about the phone call before he went.
You can see by his you can just tell by his body language how he's not a very good liar. No.
Okay, which moves us very conveniently on to question number 14. Who provides this question? Did you provide this information to the Attorney General? Who says that?
I can hear that ringing in my head. That's got to be Walt Kelly at the deposition thing.
Spot on.
Yeah.
And he says, we took everything that we had. And goes on about, I can't remember what date we were in Madison, as if the fact that you can't remember what date it was makes any difference. You never took that information because you knew how damaging that would have been. You were quite happy to try and make it look as if there'd been an honest mistake made here, but you weren't. There was no way, because I think they realised that something like that would in fact create the insurers would go, no way are we insuring you if you are engaging in this sort of activity, sitting on a bit of information like that for 8 years when somebody could have been out, when Steve could have been out 8 years earlier. Anyway. Yeah.
I think I can hear Walt Kelly say in that conversation where that first part was mentioned, he said something, well, let me tell you, that I can tell you with assurance that information was not in the I don't know, the documents or the pile or whatever he said.
Yes.
We knew the answer to that question. Like all good lawyers, they don't ask a question that they don't already know the answer to. So he certainly got him there.
Yes, certainly we've had a few of Steve Glynn and Walt Kelly quotes because, as I say, this whole case is all about what happened in 85. And of course, what's really, really sickening is the fact that when Steve accepted the meager 400,000, one of the things he had to then sign was the fact that, Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department, he was accepting that there was no wrongdoing on their behalf.
Yeah.
And we know perfectly well that that's simply not. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Question number 15. You're doing very well so far. So question number 15. Who was the last person to give a deposition before Teresa disappeared, and what was the date?
Oh, well, I'm pretty sure the last person was Jean the Pencil Couchet.
Eugene? Careful with that. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Eugene.
Yep.
Now, let me see. So Monday the 31st, 30th, 29th, 28th. The date was in the previous week to when Teresa disappeared on Monday the 31st of October. So I'm going to say, I think it was about the Wednesday. So let me count back the days now. So that would make it maybe
the 24th or 25th of October, somewhere around there.
Well, as I say, I'll allow you a couple. I'll allow you a couple of days leeway. October 26th. So, October 26th.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, close. The point is, within 5 days of Teresa Teresa disappearing, Jean Couchet had been given depositions and had squirmed like a squirming person does, you know. Okay, next question.
Mm-hmm.
Who were due next and the dates?
Oh, well, I know the two that were due next were Kasurik and Vogel.
Yes.
They were the prize witnesses because they were the really ones under the hammer here.
Yep.
The dates, gee, I'm going to, if it was 25th.
What's 26th for Eugene?
26th, there was Halloween. It's a wild guess. They tend to have these things a few days apart from each other.
Yep.
From what so if I'll say, I don't know who's first, I will just say Kasurik first, but I think Vogel was probably the main.
That's right, yeah.
The main target. So I'm going to say Kasurik first. Let's pick a date, the 8th of November.
Close.
And the other one, November. 5 days after that or something like that.
Yeah. Kasurik was November the 10th. So Vogel would be...
Okay. The 15th then, I guess, if I use my 5-day thing.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Okay, here's a question that you'll find incredibly easy, but maybe if you're not from Manitowoc and you don't know the area that well, you maybe not. What is the name?
I feel like a local there, mate. I've been there 6 times, I think.
Yeah. What is the name of the wonderful shop? This wonderful shop that sells all sorts of lovely stuff, particularly a huge, big refrigerated sort of beer cooler where you actually walk into this fridge and select your beers.
Yeah.
What is the name of the shop that stands in the shadows at the foot of the iconic water tower? Now, there's obviously more than one water tower in Manitowoc, but the one that we see regularly, the iconic one, there's a shop right at the base of that tower. I think it's more or less the sort of across the crossroads, isn't it? There's a big like supermarket right on the corner, iconic supermarket. What's it called?
Yeah, I do know this one because I've been in the shop.
Yeah.
And when you're near that iconic tower, you know the one. There are other towers, but that one really does stand out.
Yeah.
That shop would have to be Piggly Wiggly, I'd say.
Correct. And I've still got my receipt from Piggly Wiggly for $51.
There you go.
$51.45. That was $1.45 on food and 50 quid on beer. Only kidding. No, moving swiftly on. So far, 17 out of 17, so 3 to go, and these are all very, 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 very straightforward. What make and model of vehicle did Teresa Holbach get called to take a photo of? I want the year, the make and model.
So that's Barbara's vehicle.
Yep.
It was not 100%. I know it's a Dodge Caravan, and Caravan. I think it's a late 80s model or early 90s model, and it was maroon or reddish color, I think.
Yep. So a year?
Dodge Caravan. I think it's like, I don't know, 89, 90, 89. 91, something 89. Like that, I think.
It's in 1989.
Okay.
And so they're selling it in 2005, so it's 16 years old. Any idea roughly how many miles are on the clock?
Oh, God. No idea.
I believe that the reason they were selling it was because it was up to, I believe, 200,000 miles on the clock.
You know, I know in the United States, I don't know whether it's around this time or some other date, they had a program of encouraging people to sell their old cars. Mm-hmm. So to get the really bad emission cars off the road, and there was a program where I think the government subsidised, made a payment for old cars as well as whatever they got commercially. But
Or maybe no, that wouldn't make sense because they were selling it to the public. So maybe I'm thinking of another era. So
yep,
yeah.
Next, penultimate question.
Yes.
When did Manitrock County Sheriff's Department first search Steve's trailer regarding obviously the disappearance of Teresa? When did they first search the trailer?
This was, I think this is the search that Andy Colburn did when he came round to the Avery Salvage Yard on, let me get the dates again, Thursday, the 3rd of November, and he was asking Stephen about Teresa, whether she'd been there, and he said yes, she had. And he asked Stephen would it be okay if he looked in his trailer, and Stephen said, yeah, sure, go ahead. I can remember that conversation or those interviews because I think Stephen repeated those facts to a television crew, either later that day or the next day or something. So I'm going to say Thursday, the 3rd of November.
Absolutely spot on. And of course, we've got a trained evidence technician, Andy Colburn, going into a crackerjack detective. Yeah. But we've got him going into Stephen Avery's trailer. What would he be looking for?
Well, I'd say, being a crackerjack evidence technician, he'd be looking either for signs of probably a few things, either signs of something that might have belonged to Teresa, signs that there might have been a scuffle or something going on, or maybe signs of some cleanup, I reckon.
Yeah.
Something like that. He'd be probably looking for some evidence that shows that there's some bad behaviour going on in there.
Yeah. I was going to stress that point that of course, if Andy Colburn had struck lucky, he would have found Teresa still shackled to the bed, but no, she wasn't there. But that's what he thought he might find, or maybe some sign of Teresa, as you say, some sign of struggle. But of course, one of the things that they are trained to look for is any evidence of attempts at cleaning up and trying to hide stuff, And of course, isn't it interesting that on the witness stand, Mark Wiegert, when asked about the fact that of all these items of evidence, this is in Brendan's trial, the Edelstein, isn't it? Ray Edelstein says to him,
Edelstein,
yeah, you've got these hundreds of pieces of evidence, and we've seen all these thousands and thousands of photographs, and he says of all these things, did you ever was there ever any of these that linked Teresa Halbach to ever having been in the trailer? And he says no, they had 5 days to clear up.
Yeah, he didn't even draw a breath between those two statements.
No. And yet there's Teresa disappearing on the Monday, and by the Thursday, and Steve is so blasé about, the police came along. Yeah, you can go and have a look.
I know. That reminds me of, that stupid statement that, the top-notch prosecutor Ken Kratz said afterwards when Tom Fassbender got sort of questioned about, evidence linking, the suspects and Teresa to the trailer, and Kratz says on cross, not cross, what do they call it?
Yeah.
When he goes
redirect,
back to him.
Redirect,
he says, yes, but didn't you find a copy of Auto Trader in there?
Yeah.
He goes, oh, yeah, I did. Oh, well, that was surprising. Stephen already admitted that she gave him Auto Trader. Didn't you find a copy of a receipt from Auto Trader? Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, well, that's really surprising. That was in there.
There was a receipt which
and
had
he cites
on it.
Those things as if there's some unique, specific evidence that wouldn't normally be in there.
Yes.
I mean, seriously, like that's something that now links Teresa to the trailer.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. So presumably everybody that she gave a receipt to that day is now a suspect, because she's got a receipt. He's got a receipt. Absolute nonsense.
Let's arrest them. They've got a receipt from Auto Trader.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well done so far. But I suspect you're going to be tripped up by the last one because the last one is incredibly difficult.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. This is a quote.
Yeah.
Who says this? Which intelligent person said, "The grieving process, could last days."
Oh my gosh, this is the toughie, was it?
That's the toughie one, isn't it?
Oh my dear. Interested person, Mr. Michael Halbach.
Well done.
Whose behaviour throughout this trial was, everyone's entitled to be a little different and have to be all boring like me, but he has some very suspicious and difficult things to explain. That is one statement. Yep. The grieving process may last days when she's only missing, and one of the other statements where he says he talks about just put that in the videotape player and there's your evidence, and he gets asked has he watched it, and he goes, "No, I haven't."
but I mean, it's the stupidity of saying the grieving process. He already knows that she's dead. And yet it could last. The grieving process could last days.
Yeah.
By the weekend, I'll have got over it. That's fine. Okay, I'll have got over the fact that my sister's been murdered.
I'll be back up at the Packers game on Sunday.
Exactly. So I don't know if you had a chance to watch Murder in the Park, but I'll keep going on about that one because, of course, that is the Sean Wreck documentary.
I can give you an update on that because after we spoke yesterday, when I eventually went to bed, I was playing it while I was, starting to go to sleep, and I got quite shocked within I think maybe 20 minutes, an hour and 30-minute show. Within about 20 minutes, there was that really surprising twist that I hadn't realised. I won't mention it because others should watch it. Mm-hmm. But I didn't get to the finishes, so I'm going to be finishing it tonight. So maybe we can have a chat about it next time we talk, because I'm really glad you directed me towards it. It's absolutely fascinating.
It is, isn't it?
So,
yeah.
I
mean, really I've been having quite a few conversations with Ken, aka Charles Darwin. But also another video I watched yesterday I watched the dude's 2 videos this morning. Yesterday afternoon, I watched the latest Rubber Ducky, not her live chat. I'm sorry, I haven't had a chance to watch that, but the one about the photographs and what it proves about the burn barrels. And basically, the best way I can describe it is, you know the song 10 Green Bottles?
Hanging on the wall, yeah.
Yep. There were 4 burn barrels in every salvage yard, 4 burn barrels in every salvage yard, and if one burn barrel should suddenly appear, there'll be 5 burn barrels, and it goes right up to 7 burn barrels, of which they've got 6 that they've got a group photo of. They've got photos of them individually, and then they line them all up and took You must watch the Rubber Ducky video about the evidence tampering, because it really
is that from yesterday?
Yeah, and basically, watch it because at the very beginning she identifies what burn barrel was Stephen Avery's, the one that was outside of his house. And then see if you can figure out where it went. I can only assume that our Kucharski's aliens needed a bit of metal, and they cut it up to make bits for their spacecraft. Because anyway, watch it. It's well worth a watch. It's only about 40-50 minutes, but it's very, very well done. So listen, I'm going to say cheerio because I've got work to do, and I know that it must be about 10 o'clock.
10:05 p.m. On a Wednesday evening.
Okay.
So,
well done. You are officially.
I'm pretty chuffed with myself that I did all right.
Yeah.
I was a bit worried that I looked pretty pathetic compared to the king of quizzes.
Well, no. You get a signed copy of a photograph of Eric Hosey.
Oh God!
You get the prize.
He's the prize, that's for sure. Hey, maybe you should have like another part to the quiz at another time where you focus on questions more to do with the current position.
right? Rather than say in the last since.
Oh, don't we? I'm going to do this, and at some point, if you want, you could do some questions for me to answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
That would be interesting.
There's a thought.
Yeah. How about that then?
Maybe I could, maybe I could ask Stephen some questions.
Yes.
ring him up on the phone and ask him some of the questions. I'm sure he'll have some illuminating answers. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
right.
Thanks very much, Paul. Lovely to speak with you.
And you. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you very much. All the best.
And thank you to everybody that joined in. Bye for now. Bye-bye.